Northeast is the call to make. Whether you're buying your first home or you're a seasoned investor, Terry Kilakos and his team of mortgage and real estate brokers can help. It's simple and it's free. Make your dreams come true. Call Northeast.
Well, it's Sunday afternoon. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Terry Kilakos, a chartered real estate and mortgage broker, as well as president of Northeast and CBC Alliance. And today, we're going to be giving you our tips and tricks to buy your first home. With so much stress surrounding buying your first home, it's important to be well prepared. So today, we're going to be doing our best to educate you to make sure that we make those hopes and dreams that you have become a reality. Joining me, we have my beautiful co-host, Merav Marciano, chartered real estate and mortgage broker and vice president super extraordinaire of Northeast and CBC Alliance. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
You can call in with your questions to 514-790-0800, or you could text into 514-800. And don't forget to write your name in the text so we can give you proper kudos. You can also visit us online at facebook.com/Northeast Nordest and facebook.com/CBC CBC Alliance Quebec. That's a mouthful right there. And please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is newsonthego.ca. Merav, before we kick off today's show, as always, let's do a little bit of a market update here, see what's going on in the world and Montreal in particular.
In the world of real estate and mortgages.
Absolutely. Okay, so talk to me. What's going on?
Well,
let's talk real estate.
Real estate. Oh boy, if any of you are out there looking for a home, you know how tough it is out there. The market is, I want to say hot, but I can honestly say discouraging for buyers.
Let's keep it positive here. Let's keep it positive, okay? I'm the eternal optimist.
If you do things right, yes, we'll keep it positive. But definitely the inventory is low, so you have to be on your toes. You have to be out there. So, and there's a lot of clickbait out there that could be a little bit misleading. I'm gonna say clickbait because when you have headlines that are talking about the weakest month in real estate since forever and real estate is 20% down, things like that. It's a little bit confusing for.
Okay, so let's dissect that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that clickbait that you end up seeing, which basically says market is down by 20%. Market is not down by 20%, people. Listen, okay? The actual number of listings is down by 20%.
I think that particular article was talking about the actual number of sales even.
There you go.
Like if we look at January of 2022 versus January of 2021, yes, the number of sales were down by 27% year over year for Montreal. But that means, that just shows us that there's not a lot of inventory. There's not a lot of sales. Doesn't mean that the value of the properties is down. So you have to be very careful.
Exactly. Because I've actually had a few people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I read that the price of real estate is down by 20%." And I'm like, "No, it's not that. It's inventory and sales is down because there is no inventory, which means that the actual prices are continuing to be strong and up there." So
yeah, and in this example, if we look at January 2022 year over year, the actual prices of the average home in Montreal went up by 25%.
yeah, absolutely.
Average single family home. So you have to be very careful what you read out there, and there's not all news outlets are accurate.
There you go. It's true. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, rates are going up. Yes. Okay. So the last time that the Bank of Canada was going to make an announcement, I made a prediction that they weren't going to be raising rates. Well, right now, I'm probably saying a little bit of the opposite. So the last announcement that the Bank of Canada did, which was on January 26th, I believe. It was, yes, January 26th. I'm just pulling it up here. There was no change in the interest rates, and that was because of the Omicron variant and so on and so forth. But now we have another announcement coming up, an interest rate announcement, and it's scheduled for March 2nd. I believe that we will probably see an increase occur at that point, probably by 0.25%. The government is already warning us of it. We have inflation that's gone up way higher than it's been in many, many, many moons. We're at 5.1. So at some point, the government is going to have to raise the overnight rate to, curb, if you will, that inflation from starting to get really out of control, right?
Yeah, and you had predicted that in January. You had predicted that the first announcement
Yeah.
there would be no increase in the rates, and that the second announcement in March we would see an increase. And I think we're right in line with that.
Exactly. And just for, in case you guys are wondering, so we have the schedule for 2022 for the rate announcements. We had the first one, which was January 22nd. We have the next one that's coming up March 2nd. And then that's going to be followed by another one in April 13th, June 1st, July 13th, September 7th, October 26th, and December 7th. My prediction is that we'll probably see an increase of about 0.75% from where we are today to, before the end of the year is up. Mind you, if inflation continues in the trajectory that it's going, we might see a little bit more. Now, the good news is that the overnight rate and variable rates in general, which are impacted by the overnight rate, are still really good. So, I mean, even if you end up having an increase of even 1% occur, most people are okay. And this is going to be an important number to remember. If you have a discount off of your variable rate mortgage that's anything less than 0.5 below prime, I would strongly, strongly suggest you either give us a call or give a call to your bank and tell them what can you do in terms of either converting it to a fixed rate or see what they can do in terms of giving you a better variable. So I've had a few customers in the last couple of weeks where they had discounts of minus 30, minus 40. And what have we done? We've gone in and we've gotten them discounts of minus 110, right? And by doing that, now all of a sudden they're in a much better position. And even if the Bank of Canada starts to raise rates like crazy, the delta between the fixed and the variable rates is so huge that it's worth it.
So now you're talking about Bank of Canada rate, which
Yes.
affects variable rates. Are we seeing the same trend on the fixed rate side where rates are actually rising?
So the fixed rates have risen. They started their climb kind of November of last year. And that's because the Bank of Canada stopped the quantitative easing that they were doing. So they stopped buying the bonds. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to start back up again at some point. Usually they started back up again at the end of February, March. Let's see what's going to happen. Maybe they will start buying up bonds again, which will flatten out that increase from occurring any further. Right now, fixed rates are still sub 3% if you're looking to buy a property and it's an insured mortgage, which is good. But that's not to say that they're going to stay there. Banks are raising rates all the time.
There's been whispers of rates going up a little bit, no?
Well, yeah, they have. They have been going up and they are going up. So, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Excellent.
We have a bunch of texts that just came in, but we're going to save those until after we come back from traffic. But really quick, what are the three most important people you need to have in your life when you're buying your first house, Merav?
A real estate broker,
Yeah.
a mortgage broker, or a banker,
Okay.
and a good notary.
A good notary. Exactly. Whenever you're doing a transaction, you want to make sure that you have those three people. And we're going to look at it a little bit more in detail when we come back, but it's very, very important. When we come back, we're going to be looking at what are the first steps to take when buying a home. But first, we're going to take a small detour off to the CJAD Traffic Center.
Real Estate Show is brought to you by Northeast Real Estate and Mortgage Agency.
You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about first-time home buyers and what it is you need to know before you buy. Feel free to call into the show with your questions at 514-790-0800, or you could text into 514-800. We have a bunch of texts, but you know what? During the traffic break, I had an interesting little story come in, and it's from Cedric, who's our producer of the show today. So Cedric, I don't know if you want to share what your story that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a bit anecdotal, but it's related to the fact that there's less houses being sold on the market right now. And my neighbor, he attempted to sell his house prior to, let's say, November, right? And in December, Omicron hit, and he got cold feet because he didn't want people to come in to his house and do the visits and stuff like that. So he removed his house from the housing market, and only now is he kind of slowly getting back into it.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like probably the Omicron variant has impacted the
amount of
housing market.
sales. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And this is something that we've seen time and time again. Well, we've seen it over the last couple of years where people basically said, we're not going to sell our house right now. We were thinking about selling it, but we're not going to sell it because we don't want to have people coming into our house that may or may not have COVID. And because of that, we're going to wait till COVID's over. But what ended up happening is a lot of these people ended up going, renovating their homes and getting it up to the standard that they wanted it to be. And they're staying put. So now they're not selling it at all, which is a huge impact on the market because there's no inventory. So anyways, hopefully, and I say hopefully because I truly want there to be an increase in the amount of listings out there. Hopefully people like your neighbor and also, other people that were reluctant about listing their home during COVID, now that things are starting to get back a little bit more, to normal, that's going to change. So
yeah, I
thanks,
do agree.
Cedric, for that.
Thank you. I do agree that a lot of people did not want to have people walking through their home during COVID. And it makes sense.
Absolutely. So let's go through a couple of these texts. So number one, really fast, how much more than prime should we change a mortgage? So listen, if you're, like I said earlier, if you're anything less than, I would say, 0.40, 0.50 below prime, you should consider changing your mortgage. If you're above prime, you should consider changing your mortgage.
Even for a home equity line of credit?
Well, home equity lines of credit they're usually 0.50 above prime. You will have a couple of them that are 0.65, and you have the odd one here and there that's 1 over prime. Definitely, if you're 1 over prime for your home line of credit, yeah, give us a call. We'll fix that up for you. That's not good. Then we have this is from Gary, and Gary wants to know he has a hard time believing that we bop our heads to rock and roll music.
Watch us on Facebook Live. We were bopping.
We were bopping, buddy. We were bopping. I enjoy a good rock and roll music.
There's an interesting question here about somebody wanting to receive a cottage from his brother as a gift or for the value of $1. Is that possible?
Yes, it is. And no, it's not. So you can put on paper whatever you want. However, because the transaction is occurring, so a cottage is an important thing because a cottage is not a primary residence. And primary residence is not taxed, but a cottage can be taxed. Okay, so capital gains wise. So if you want to sell the property at $1 to avoid paying taxes, if you will, then at that point you're going to be in a world of trouble, especially if the transaction is not at arm's length. So if you buy it for $1, first of all, the city, if you're trying to avoid the welcome tax, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to look at it and they're going to say, listen, great, you bought it for $1, but the municipal evaluation is this much, so you're going to pay taxes based on the municipal evaluation, number one. Number two, so I'm talking welcome tax now.
Yep.
Number two, the government, if you're doing it to avoid capital gains, is going to say, who did you sell this property to? Oh, your brother, your sister, your cousin, or someone that's not at arm's length to you. What they're going to do is they're going to say the fair market value of this property was X, and they're going to tax you based on that amount. So the person that's selling it. If the person that's selling it doesn't pay the taxes for whatever reason, they actually can go after the person that received the property. But only if it's not at arm's length. So if, for example, I was to buy that cottage and I have no relationship to them, you could sell it to or you want, and the government can't go after me, but they could still go after the vendor. Make sense?
These are all very good questions and definitely things to verify with your accountant before doing any kind of transaction like that.
100%. And there's another one who said a chartered appraiser and a lawyer are also very important. A lawyer in Canada, in Quebec, is actually not needed. when you're doing a transaction, it's notaries that are the lawyers. In the rest of Canada, yes, you do need a lawyer. And a chartered appraiser, the appraisals are usually done by the banks. And it's the banks that'll use the right appraiser for it.
The bank selects the appraiser that they certify.
Exactly. So we started talking a little bit about using getting your dream team together, right? So we touched on you need to have a good mortgage broker or banker. You need to have a good realtor. You need to have a good notary lined up. Very, very important. And that falls in line with the first thing that you need to do before you do anything else is
get pre-approved.
There you go. You're not going, a lot of times people, have done pre-approvals in the past. They think that, they still qualify based on the numbers that they were given once upon a time. I've even seen people come in pre-stress test. They had a pre-approval and they're like, look, I make more money now. And, I look at it and I'm like, this pre-approval is not good anymore. This was like, 7 years ago that you did it.
And it is important to remember that stress test, which was put in officially, I think, in January 2018. It's really the bank or the government is asking us to qualify borrowers based on a higher interest rate, which really reduces the amount that you qualify for. So
Absolutely.
If you did a pre-approval pre-stress test and a pre-approval post-stress test, it's a completely different amount.
So once you have your pre-approval, the other thing that's really important, you got to make sure that you've actually structured your down payment correctly. So these are all things that need to be done before you make the decision to buy your property or while you're making your decision to buy your property. The down payment structuring is one of the most important things because that could potentially save you or make you a ton of money. And this is one of the things that we specialize at Northeast because we have a team of financial advisors that work together with the clients to make sure that everything is lined up properly. And I'm pretty sure, at the risk of putting my foot in my mouth, I think we're one of the only ones in Canada that actually are capable of doing something like this.
Yeah, we hold all 3 licenses. So other places might do it on referral. But our agency does have all 3 licenses: real estate brokerage, mortgage brokerage, and financial services. So definitely it helps the customers a lot to know that they're covered from all corners if you want.
Absolutely. And we have a text here from Michael in Facebook land who says, help, I need an accountant, one that does real estate investments, please. Honestly, one of the best accountants that I know for real estate transactions, you go to MNP. So MNP has, teams. They're a firm, and you can actually get an accountant at, a fairly good rate. So I would suggest MNP for real estate.
And there is an interesting text over here from Monica that's asking something a little bit controversial right now. Do you think we will have to pay taxes when we sell our homes? Uh-oh. He's adjusting his microphone.
Do I think we're going to... So if our... Okay. All right. I'm going to hold back what I actually want to say. What I will say is that our government right now is in the process of looking at the possibility of taxing people's primary residence.
And that would be...
Bad.
Yeah. Very
bad. Okay. They're seeing a lot of money that they could potentially be making. And with the amount of deficit that the Canadian government is in right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that. Now, any government that puts something like that in place, they've just committed political suicide. No one's ever voting for them again.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that it's not going to happen, but it is something that has been getting looked at for a while now.
Yeah, we have seen it, even news articles and things like that, where they mention capital gains on primary residence possibly coming into play.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of really great text. We're going to get to them in a little bit. One of them that's really important here. What is the fixed rate for single family mortgage up to a fourplex? If it's a principal residence and it's insured, you could still get it, like I said, sub 3%, so 2.84, 2.89. But they're quickly going up. So it's important for us to actually look at it in detail with you. When we come back, we're going to be looking at how to choose the right home that fits your needs. But first, we're off to a CTV news update. You're listening to The Real Estate Show, and today we're giving away some important tips for buying your first home. You can text in with your questions to 514-800, or you can call us at 514-790-0800. And please write your name in the text so that we can give you proper kudos. I do want to mention something because Brenda is a little bit disgruntled by the fact that I mentioned, that the government may potentially charge capital gains on principal residence. I didn't say that. I said any government that would do that would be committing political suicide and wouldn't be voted in. So I do not believe that they're going to do that. However, it is something that has been studied by the government.
Yep.
So I just want to make that very, very clear. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you for your text, Brenda. She's very mad at me, Brenda. She always gets mad at me.
Yeah, it's okay. We love Brenda.
Okay, so getting the right team in place.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's look at this. So we talked again about why is it important to have a realtor? The realtor is one of the things that a lot of people, believe it or not, don't think about.
Well, in this day and age with the internet and, access to the MLS system, a lot of people feel like, what's the point of having a realtor? He's going to do exactly what I'm doing. He's going to search for properties. However, let me say that in this market, if you do not have a realtor representing you, which is free, by the way, the buyer's broker is paid by the listing broker as a collaborator. So if you do not have a real estate broker representing you as a buyer, your chances of having a successful transaction are slim to none.
Yeah.
Because really, when there's 20 offers coming into a property and you're coming unrepresented, not knowing what's the right amount to offer, not knowing what are the right conditions to put on your offer, and you think that you're going to get a better deal because you're going straight to the listing broker, it's completely false.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important for us to know. It's just like you would not go into court being represented by the other party's lawyer. You know what I mean? It's the same idea. You're basically coming in with your own representation. Your broker has your best interest at heart.
Absolutely. We have a long text, which I'm going to just read, and it's from Steve. Hi, love the show. I was wondering if I made a good decision. Finally bought a house after literally 150 visits. Wait. Over 30 offers during a period of 9 months. Crazy times. So end of November 2021, I passed notary and chose a mortgage with my bank advisor for 4 years fixed, biweekly accelerated at 209 versus 5 years biweekly accelerated at 229. Did I make a good choice? I think I did. If I think of the math, in the 5th year, I would have to re-sign my mortgage at over 3.25 to have actually lost money. That 1 year, 5th year. Am I correct? Steve, I'm happy to tell you, you are correct.
Steve, are you an engineer? You're
No,
one of my people.
Yeah, that's it. No, I think you did good. Listen, a rate of, a 4-year rate of 209. I think it's a good rate. It's definitely a good rate. That savings, don't forget, over the next 4 years, you would have been paying 229 versus 209. Your math is correct. You would have to sign at over 3.25. But if you want to actually be really clever and really sneaky, what you can do is, if you're comfortable with that 229 payment, increase your payment. Increase your payment as if you were paying 229. And what's going to end up happening in 4 years when your mortgage comes up for renewal, or 3.5 years, what's going to be the balance on the mortgage is going to actually be significantly less. And that way your 3.25 can maybe be 350 or 3.6. So just a little food for thought.
He's already dropping his principal quite a bit by doing accelerated biweekly, right?
100%. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
Good.
Okay, so now you're pre-approved. You have your realtor. Let's talk about buying that property. Your wish list.
Your wish list. So I think it's important for us when we look for a property to have our wish list, but to have those top 3 that, there's no way that I would give up on those top 3. Everything else you have to be okay to give up on, possibly.
Yes.
Sometimes if it's the number of bedrooms because of the number of kids you have or plan on having, maybe it's the neighborhood because you want your kids to go to a certain school.
Get bunk beds. Just
whatever
kidding.
it is. But let's say you're really set on a neighborhood, and neighborhood is the one thing that you're not going to change your mind on, and price is one thing you're not going to change your mind on, and a third thing, whatever, it has to be renovated. And you end up finding all of that in a condo versus a single family home. And it being a single family detached home was like fourth on your priority list, then maybe it's something to look at. All I'm saying is do your top three. If your number one is it has to be a detached home, then don't give up on that. But everything else, okay, let's change neighborhoods.
So this is part of the exercise that we do with our home buyers, right? So we literally sit down and we look at what is your wish list. We make the list together with our home buyers, and then once we've done the list, we'll sit down and we'll say, what are your top three, right?
Yeah. And very often you have to revisit that list, because sometimes after visiting you say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize that neighborhood was like this, or I didn't realize it was okay to buy semi-detached versus detached. So your list might adapt a little bit, and especially to the market.
That's it. Sorry, I have to read this text. Hello, Terry and Merav. Happy Sunday. You are both awesome. Best in town. Extremely happy customers. Carol and Steve. Thank you, Carol,
Thank
or
you,
Steve,
guys.
whoever texted that.
I'm sure it's Carol.
Yeah.
It's usually the woman who texts. Thank
And
you, guys.
I'm not going to read all the texts that are coming in about our government right now, because there is a lot of them. I'm sorry, I'm not reading them.
Yeah, some of them are a bit intense.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just leave that out. So okay, so we've made our top three list. I think that the other part of it is, a good realtor is going to help educate you on on the market. They're going to help educate you as to how high or how low you should go in your offers. I don't know. Like for me, I'm the type of person that, in this market, I've had customers come to me and they say, you know what, they want to ask for another, they're asking for an extra $5,000 or something like that. I don't want to pay that. Guys, don't give up on your dream house for small amounts like that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I know it's $5,000 if we look at the bulk amount, but if you actually think of the fact that you're spreading it out over the term of your mortgage, or over the amortization of your mortgage rather, it's really, we're talking about a few dollars extra a month for you to actually have this home. And this is not a market to give up on your dream home on $5,000. Definitely not.
Exactly. We have a text here from Petra. My name is Petra. I'm confused about the capital gains taxes. Are they the capital gains / taxes? Are they the same? My mother transferred her half of our fourplex to me in October. I now own 100%. She still lives in one of the units. Will she have to pay taxes, or are we free of tax because we are family? Petra. Fourplex. It's not so the unit that your mother lives in, there is no taxes on it. The rest of it, because it was a revenue property, there is taxes on it.
Even if it wasn't rented out, even if it's family members who lived in it, whatever it is, because 3/4 of it is revenue property.
Yeah.
There's going to be 3/4 of it that's taxable.
And it's going to be based on the marginal, excuse me. It's going to be based on the value of the property that the government will determine if it was transferred, let's say, at $1 or, for free. So it's very important. I would actually strongly suggest that you get a chartered appraiser to come in and appraise the value of the property. Don't let the government appraise it for you, because then you're going to end up being in trouble, if you will.
And contact your accountant.
And yes, 100%.
Absolutely.
Hello, great show. Question about broker fees. Who pays the broker when seller is still paying the 4%? What are their interests in selling the property if they are not paid? Thank you, Frank from LaSalle. Not sure I understand.
No,
did you get it?
I do get it, but I think we're going to have to answer that right after the break.
Okay. Up next, we're going to be looking at, we're going to be continuing our look at the steps that you need to take when you're buying your first home. Now we're going to take a small detour off to the CJAD Traffic Center. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in. In today's discussion about first-time home buyers and how important it is to know all the little tips and tricks that we're sharing with you. And we have a bunch of texts on Facebook land and at the station here. And let's just talk a little bit about Frank's question, because it's important. It's a question that comes up fairly often. I'm going to repeat it again. Great show question about broker fees. Who pays the broker when seller is still paying the 4%? What are their interests in selling the property if they're not paid? Thank you. And that's from Frank in LaSalle. So, Merav?
So basically, Frank, the way that the buyer's broker is paid is that the selling broker splits their commission with them.
Exactly. So that 4% is split between
Exactly.
you and the other broker.
Exactly. So you as the buyer, you're not paying anything, but as the seller, you're still paying the 4% or whatever it is, and you're talking about a 4% commission, and they split it half-half.
There you go. I think that answers very well. And we have a question on Facebook land from Tina, who says, "Hi, Terry and Merav. It's Tina. What is your suggestions for people that have property so that they can get more mortgages and planning to buy a single-family home with an in-law suite with in-law units in front of university and make it student rental? The property has a bit of income, but not much because the main unit is owner occupied, but it will have $5,500 of income after being converted to student rentals." So first and foremost, banks don't like student rentals. But at the end of the day, your limitation for your mortgages is your income. How much income are you able to sustain? How much mortgage are you able to sustain versus your income? Okay, so if you're making $400,000 a year, you can have a lot of mortgages. If you're making $40,000 a year, you can't have a lot of mortgages. It's as simple as that, right? Now, future revenues of this unit don't count. Okay, so if there's no lease in place, you can't count it. So in this case, because it's going to be student rentals, there's going to be a lot. But there is alternatives. So if you want to buy investment properties and you hit a wall all of a sudden with banks, there is other ways of going about it. We actually do offer alternative lenders. We have a few of them, which would allow you to bust ratios to get you into that property. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's always interesting when you already have a mortgage and you need to get another mortgage, and then you see how the banks look at your file.
Exactly. Actually, I will add something else to that. It's also important to, if you decide that you want to become a serial real estate investor, look bigger than 4 units. Go 5+ doors. When you go over 5 doors, now all of a sudden the revenues of your revenues, I should say, are counted, but not really. If the property theoretically pays for itself, then you're good to go. So best advice that I can give someone that's looking to become a serial real estate investor, stay away from the smaller properties. Go bigger. And it was actually one of the mistakes that I made as a real estate investor when I started off. And I've said this before and I'm saying it again, I should have gone bigger sooner.
Yep.
Right?
I agree. Once we know, we know. But,
exactly. Hindsight's always 20/20,
of course,
right?
20+ years ago, you don't know these things. I wanted to ask you with respect to the team. You mentioned mortgage broker, real estate broker. If we can just look at the difference between the mortgage broker and the mortgage specialist at the bank.
So I'm just going to say it. Mortgage brokers are the best.
But I mean,
obviously, I'm a little biased in that.
But you personally, what would you do a little differently?
So let's look at the fundamental difference between a mortgage broker and a person that works at a bank. Okay, the person that works at a bank is only able to offer and sell the products that are offered by that financial institution. Clear? If they work for Bank ABC, they can only sell Bank ABC's products.
Okay, that makes sense.
Easy?
Yeah.
And you're at the mercy of their policies as well. Very important. So, for example, someone, this question that Tina had, it lines up really well with that, because there are certain banks that have a policy that say you can't go over 5 doors. So now you walk into the bank and the bank's going to tell you, you don't qualify. But they won't tell you why you don't qualify.
Or they won't tell you that bank
XYZ
exactly
will approve you.
I just lost my alphabet.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's Sunday afternoon. You're good. So when you go to a mortgage broker, whether it's us or someone else, it doesn't matter. But the point is, when you go to a mortgage broker is going to be able to not only look at that bank that you were possibly thinking about, but they're going to be able to look at all the banks. They're going to be able to look at all the different policies, all the different conditions that go into all the different mortgages across all the different lenders. And if you reach a cap with one specific financial institution. Now, all of a sudden, you can look at another one that maybe doesn't have that cap. Okay. Plus, let's say there is an issue with respect to credit, which does come up. A mortgage broker is going to be able to tell you, hey, listen, this is the problem with your credit bureau. Let's see what we can do to help fix this. Right? Whereas a person, again, working at a bank, number one, they're not trained to do that. But number two, I don't think they really care. And I can't say that for everyone, but they just don't know how to kind of dissect that credit bureau.
Yeah, at the end of the day, their computer spits out an answer. It's a yay or nay. And in their defense, I don't think they're there to analyze the nitty-gritty of your file to understand exactly the reasoning behind it.
Exactly. So if you want proper advice, if you want proper guidance, you go to a broker. If you're looking for the best rate, which is a pitfall that unfortunately a lot of clients fall into, they go to the bank, and the bank gives them a rate, then they go somewhere else, they get another rate, and then they go back to their bank and they say, oh, I got this rate. Can you match it? And then the bank tries to match it. They come close to it, maybe give some cashbacks, do this, do that. And then the next thing you know, they're crucified if it comes time to break that mortgage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What's sad is that you end up saving that $20 a month. But if something happens, you need to, there's a divorce, you need to move, whatever it is, that penalty is brutal.
So, and this is one of the things that us mortgage brokers will do. We're going to try and structure things in a way that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to look 10 steps ahead. We're going to look for that potential divorce. We're going to look for that potential sale that's going to occur. We're going to look at that potential refinancing that's going to occur. And if you don't have that thought out before you actually engage in your transaction, you can be in a world of problems. And chances are, by the way, our rates tend to be better than what the banks have to offer. Northeast, we did over $500 million of mortgages and real estate transactions last year. Guess what? We have a lot of pull with the banks, and our rates are pretty darn good compared to everyone else out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, I've never been somebody to shop for price. I've never been that. I always shop for quality.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah. But our service is free, so.
No, I know, but I'm saying in general, like I would not go for that rate just because I'm saving $10 a month.
Yeah.
It comes with conditions.
We're pushing up against the clock, but I love saying my story, so I'm going to say this one. I had a customer one time. He came in and he had gone to a bank which was, we're going to say a green one. Okay, there's a couple of green ones, so I'm safe saying that. Okay, and this green bank offered him a rate. Then he came to me. And I said to him, we can go with this green bank that you're being offered, or we can go with this other lender who is an alternative, a virtual lender, which has the same rate as what you're being quoted by your bank. And he said, well, why would we go there when we can go here? And I said, well, you just got together with your girlfriend. You're buying a house after 4 months of being together. I want to make sure that there's no issues. And guess what? There was issues. His route cost him $22,000. My route would have cost him $2,800. So it's important to look at all the options before you make a decision. Merav, we're out of real estate. If people want to get a hold of us,
you can reach us at the office at 514-680-4674 or online at nordest.ca.
Guys, till next week, have a blessed week. Love you all.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program were provided for general information purposes only and should not be construed as advice from CJAD 800 or Bell Media. Listeners should always consult their own real estate agent with questions or concerns. Proceeding with sponsored content.
It's time to remind you about Gibby's. Open for safe dining once again up north in Saint-Sauveur and in beautiful old Montreal, where, of course, there's free, no-hassle valet parking. If you go to gibbys.com right now,
Northeast is the call to make. Whether you're buying your first home or you're a seasoned investor, Terry Kilakos and his team of mortgage and real estate brokers can help. It's simple and it's free. Make your dreams come true. Call Northeast.